today I'm going to be installing this shelf in the toilet. Stick around if you want to see how I did it. I had this old piece of treated pine left over from somewhere. It was pretty gnarly and it had been sitting out in the rain for almost 6 months at this stage. You can see all the mold on it and some of the rot had started forming. Before I did any real work to it, I got the wire brush out and cleaned it up. I was a little concerned there wouldn't be any decent wood left on it. Then after that I got the hand plane out and had a better look at the grain. At this point I was happy to continue, so I squared up one side and cut it off with a combination of the circular saw and a handsaw. Unfortunately, my circular saw won't cut any deeper than this. Now to make this shelf appear like it's floating, I wanted to hide the brackets up inside the shelf. To do this I notched out about 35mm from the bottom. Here I'm lining up my blade with the mark I'd drawn. It's a bit hard to see from this angle. Then I got to cutting out all the notches. In hindsight I wish I'd cut out a few more, you'll see why in a second. Normally when you've cut enough notches, the pieces should just come out with a few knocks from the hammer. But here I had to use a combination of a chisel and a crowbar to get the waste off because the notches were too big. Here I'm cleaning up as much as I can with the chisel. Then after that I got to it with the hand plane to clean it up just a little bit more. And while I had the hand plane out, I did some more cleaning up on the main surfaces. At this stage I was pretty happy with how the wood was looking, but I decided to fix all those cracks with some epoxy. I mixed up the two parts, then forced it into the cracks. Once that was dry, I planed off the excess. Then I started sanding. First with the belt sander at 80 grit, then onto the orbital sander up to 120 grit. To fix the underneath of the shelf, I decided to use some plywood. This would hide the chip out from the notches, but also give the shelf brackets a flat surface to attach to. Because this was going to be the underneath of the shelf, I wasn't too worried about color matching, it was more about finishing it off with something. To glue the plywood down, I applied a very liberal amount of construction adhesive. I used this instead of wood glue because I wanted to fill some of the deep holes. Considering how the shelf sits, this bond will never really be put under any stress, so my major concern here was filling those holes. I then clamped the pieces, and after about 4 days of drying, did the final sanding up to 180 grit. Then I cleaned all the dust off using methylated spirits. To finish the shelf, I used a low sheen wipe-on poly. This was my first time using it, but after all the people I've seen use it online, I decided to give it a go. After the first coat dried, I went over it with some 600 grit paper. I repeated this process 3 times. I really like the finish, but it's a lot more glossy than I was expecting. The timber dried for about 3 days while I worked on the brackets. This aluminium angle works great because it's soft and easy to drill and cut through, but rigid enough for a small shelf. I marked out all the holes, then punched them to make sure the drill bit didn't wander. Then I drilled out the holes, 4 in each bracket. You can see here how easily the drill bit is going through. I also filed down all the edges to get rid of the burrs. I installed the first bracket at the height I wanted, then put the shelf on it with a spirit level on top. Once it was level, I marked its position. This was going to be the top of the second bracket. Using a small spirit level, I checked the level of the bracket and marked the holes. Again, I used a punch to start the holes. Because of the tiles on the right of the screen, the last thing I wanted was the drill bit slipping. I knocked the second plug in using the base of the mallet so that the hammer didn't get too close to those tiles. And then I screwed in the bracket and the hard part was over. And there you have it. One shelf made from a piece of very, very old timber that was well past its prime. Now I admit this isn't everyone's ideal look, but the idea of using reclaimed timber just ticks all the boxes in my opinion. And mixed in with all those sharp, clean lines in the rest of the room, I think it softens it really, really nicely. This is going to be the last video that I do about the laundry renovation. But if you enjoyed this, then I encourage you to go back and watch some of the older videos. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.